Is day 11, week 3 of the United States versus Sean Combs. Right off the bat, I want to let you all know that the defense moved for a mistrial today. It was denied, but it got very spicy in the courtroom. But I'll get there. I'll tell you exactly what happened. But first, let me start with the first witness of the day, someone from the LAPD, a police officer named Christopher Ignacio, 16-year vet. He was working in December 2011 when he was called to Kid Cudi's house for a possible break-in at 8:20 a.m. That's when he was called from dispatch, or he received this call. So he goes there with his partner, lights and sirens on, just in case he doesn't know what's going on. He says that when he pulls up to the house, outside of the house is a black Escalade. And he said he looked at the license plate and he made sure to memorize it. He actually recited it for us on the stand. He testified that he went inside the house. You know, he saw the presents on the table, a watch, some purses. He said that 2 other detectives showed up and they searched the house. Nothing was missing, nothing was broken, and they wrote up a report. He said when he got back outside, he saw the same black Escalade come down a hill. And, he also testified, just going back, after the black Cadillac, or the Escalade, it's a Cadillac Escalade, just kidding. I'll refer to it as both. After the Cadillac drove away, he said that the homeowner's black Porsche pulled up, which we know was Kid Cudi. So, that was pretty much it was a very short, direct, but during cross-examination, which was done by Brian Steele, and by the way, he has really good pace, Brian Steele. He just kind of gets it done. He said, did you see at any point the Escalade and the Porsche next to each other? Like, did you see the Porsche pull up next to the Escalade? And the police officer said no. And he said, so did you see a chase? Did you see the Escalade chase the Porsche up a hill? And he said no, because that's what we heard yesterday from Capricorn Clark. And then, he kind of said, okay, so you wrote this report, you're very detailed, you just told us the license plate number. Did the homeowner share with you anything about a gun, that somebody who broke into his house might have a gun? And he said no. So that was a moment. He said, all right, so, if he didn't testify that there was a gun, like, was it a burglary? What was it? And he kind of just said they wrote a trespassing report. He did say that Kid Cudi appeared flustered, and another point of contention, or I guess trying to discredit Capricorn Clark, was the timing, since they were called to the house at 8:20. I think she said it was somewhere between 6 and 7 a.m. So I think they wanted to point out that discrepancy. But then we got to the arson investigator, and his name is Jimenez, and Lance Jimenez, excuse me. And he's a 22-year vet with the LA Fire Department. And essentially an arson investigator is like a detective for the fire department. So this is actually where the mistrial comes in. So he was discussing the fact that he was called to the residence of Kid Cudi in Hollywood Hills after around 11 a.m., after the fire department got there because they were going to do an investigation. So we were shown pictures of the car, where it was parked in the driveway, evidence photos, and all of that jazz. Now, the driveway of Kid Cudi's house was really long, and I was surprised to see that the car was parked right in front of the garage, which was closed, and there was 2 other cars parked behind it. So what Jimenez testified was that, his opinion as an expert was that somebody cut the top of the car and dropped in this Molotov cocktail, which, my papers, which, by the way, was in an Olde English bottle. And he said that there was a silk scarf used, and so he believes that this is why the Molotov cocktail didn't really explode properly, because he said, there was damage to the car, obviously, but it was minimal damage, and he thinks it's because of the scarf. And if it actually did explode and go off, it could have done a lot more damage and even possibly, reach the house. Now, they were discussing evidence getting tested and all that stuff, and how, he sent it off, but he didn't really know that much about the DNA evidence that was retrieved. He said that he knew that there were partial female fingerprints taken from the Olde English bottle. And he also said that he spoke to Kid Cudi, and Kid Cudi gave him some names to call, just people who might know things. And he gave him the names of Capricorn Clark and Cassie Ventura. And, the defense said, well, did you call these women essentially after you found out there was female DNA on the bottle? And he said that he didn't know. But Cassie did not answer, and obviously Capricorn didn't answer. He also stated that Capricorn's brother kind of threatened him on the phone when he called a few times trying to reach her. And he also said, and this is Lance Jimenez, he said that he actually even contacted Cassie's father, who was a firefighter, who said, okay, I'll try to get in touch with Cassie. Never did. So they also, the LAPD, I guess this is where I'm going with the mistrial, they were able to do a print card, is what it was called, where they took fingerprints off of his door from this trespassing incident, and they were trying to lift other fingerprints off of the bottle, of some of the evidence that they found. And so it turns out this print card, the government pointed out that it was destroyed in August of 2012. And it wasn't destroyed at the directive of Jimenez. It was destroyed by somebody in the LAPD. And the government went on to say, did you authorize this card to be destroyed? And he said no. And then they said, was it unusual for something like this to happen, or this card to be destroyed? And then there was an objection. It was sustained, and we took a break. But what happened was the defense said that during jury selection, there was concerns from the jury that Sean Combs and other celebrities can buy their way out of these situations. So the defense was saying that the government was kind of purposely planting this and using lines of questioning, like they were, to infer that he paid for someone in the LAPD to destroy this evidence. And when they went to move for a mistrial, they're just kind of like, how can they unhear that? That's going to be in their minds. The government said that, that there was no prejudice there. We weren't doing that, quote, on purpose. What did they say? Yes. So basically the judge denied the mistrial because the defense did not object until the last question. And I wish I wrote down the other questions. I'll have to refer to the transcript. But then there was a really spicy moment because Alexandra Shapiro, Diddy's attorney, said, well, then Judge, I want you to tell the jury that they should disregard the government's improper questions and obviously the answers. And then the government's like, you don't refer to us as being improper. That's not going to look good. That's not cool. And essentially the judge said, okay, I'm not going to say that you guys are improper, but what I will say is please disregard the questions and the answers. They have no bearing on the case. So he did tell the jury that, they finished up the questioning, the direct and everything. And then we got to the cross by Mark Agnifilo. And what was so crazy is that he pointed out this black glove in the back seat. There was like a lone black glove. And he's like, did you guys test this glove for evidence or for DNA? And they're like, no. And he said, well, where's the other glove? And he said, well, we asked the owner, Kid Cudi, and he said it's his driving glove. And Agnifilo was very much like, okay, well, where's the other glove? Why would it be in the back seat? Just really focusing on the black glove. And I was like, OJ, oh my gosh. So yeah, they just were, let me see, anything else? Oh, and they pointed out the glove wasn't in the report. Reaching out to Cassie and Capricorn Clark after they saw that the DNA was partially female. He didn't know. Yeah, that was basically it for the cross. Then we saw Deontay Nash, Cassie's stylist. And I'll make this quick and I'll get to the rest of his testimony later. But he was funny. He got some laughs from the courtroom. Oh, and before I forget, Diddy's mom and his 3 sons are here, Justin, Quincy, and Christian. And Christian had his arm around Janice Combs for much of the morning. But really quickly, Deontay Nash testified about one specific incident, and I'll go into more detail later about what he said. But a 2014 Vanity Fair party where he and Cassie showed up, and Diddy didn't like Cassie's hair. He kind of held up Deontay by his jacket and said, go fix her hair. They went to fix her hair, put it up. They came out of the bathroom and Diddy's like, oh, I guess it does look better down. He testified a lot more, but I'll get into that later because I'm doing 10-minute updates. Okay.